Hi, I'm Leslie Hill, the Program Director for the Women's Entrepreneurial Opportunity Center. And we are here today filming for our Getting Vulnerable and Going Strong with Stacey Holifield of Levitate. So Stacey, what we're going to talk about today is a little bit of what can't be left up to chance. So there are a lot of things that happen in our business and we can't wait for everything to be perfect to get it out there. So what do you think? We'll start talking through this after we learn a little bit more about you. So tell us about your business, let everybody know what you're about, what you do. It's really exciting. She has grown so much in just a few years. It's very fun to see.
Thank you. Well, thank you so much for having me here. It's always wonderful to get out and talk to people, and to be here at the center is really great. So I'm Stacey Holifield. I own Levitate. We are a strategic communications agency, and what that means is that we work with companies, organizations, and individuals to help them communicate more efficiently and more effectively. So everyone's trying to get a message out to a target audience, but really understanding how to say something that matters and influences and motivates action is tricky. It's hard to get those words to come out in a way that resonates and in a way that's appropriately repetitive, and that's what we do. So we work with clients on messaging, strategic planning, and really better understanding their target audience, and then we communicate on behalf of them through social media channels, content marketing, media relations, press release writing, anything that means communicating externally, we work with our clients on.
Okay.
Yes.
That's so fun.
It is.
I feel like there are so many people playing in this marketing field right now. But you've taken a completely different approach, even though you may be offering similar options within your wheelhouse.
Right.
So how did you, this gets off topic from our from my notes I sent you, but it's so fun to hear.
Yeah.
So tell us how you got here, and
Yeah.
then we'll figure out how everything kind of has evolved.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I spent most of my childhood in Fort Wayne, and I grew up, once I hit high school, I wanted to be Joan London, which dates me. But
I'm sure there are people watching like, oh, you're so young.
So I wanted to be on Good Morning America. That was what I wanted to do. So I graduated from high school and went out to Boston, went to college, Emerson College, and intended to major in broadcast journalism. But as college goes, many twists and turns, and I had gotten an internship actually at Entertainment Tonight out in LA, and I got put into the media relations department. And I thought entertainment, could be the way I wanted to go.
Yeah.
This is going to be so cool. And I realized pretty quickly that I'm just way too cynical. And I saw that PR, media relations, is what was really driving the news. So even as a college student, I would get to call up reporters at USA Today, New York Times, Wall Street Journal, and tell them, we interviewed Jennifer Aniston about Brad Pitt, and I can give you 3 different quotes, and then you can print these, but not till Friday. You can only.
Yeah.
And that was like my first taste of a little bit of power and control, and I loved it.
Yeah.
And so.
Dude,
yeah. So after that, no more wanting to be on camera. I decided that I wanted to work in PR. So I graduated and started my PR career.
And where did you go to school?
I went to undergrad at Emerson College in Boston.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So, and then I've been working in PR ever since. And it's been an incredible, incredible journey. Most of my focus early on was in media relations. So building up relationship with reporters, calling, doing a lot of, calling and writing pitches. And I always tell my team that when I started working in this, we actually used to mostly fax press releases, and
I love when there's a fax line still on the, I'm like, anybody have this?
Yeah, So technology has evolved, I have evolved, but over time, I spent most of my career working for a company that was started by a husband and wife team, and I saw them grow. I started there when it was about 10 years old, and they had already grown to about 100 people. So over the course of close to 25 years. I want to say we hit probably, I don't even know, just over 200. We had a Boston office, a DC office, San Francisco, London, and Stockholm. So being a part of that growth and seeing how they inspired all of us to be a part of their dream was really incredible. And we loved, every company you have off days, but we all loved working there.
Yeah.
And so it was really inspiring, and you see what can happen with a dream and dedication and determination. And so I felt like I really wanted to do this. I could do this.
I have a dream.
Yes. I have a dream. I still love power. So I went back to school. I got my MBA, and really had thought I would, at some point after that, be ready to start my own company. So it took some time to get to that point.
Yeah.
But eventually I did get there.
But that is so fun.
Yes.
So did you get to go to London and Stockholm?
I did. Yeah, I went to Stockholm for just to go oversee the office and meet some people there. I went to London for a few months to help when our office was just getting off the ground there. So I spent some time over there working with the team and getting to experience all that.
I would say that's probably the one thing that I miss about working in corporate.
Yeah.
Maybe the only thing that I miss about working in corporate but is the travel.
Yeah.
Just from Asia to Europe to
Yes.
like, oh.
It's hard when you're in it. It can be exhausting and overwhelming. And then when you're out of it for a little while, you're like,
can I just go like 4 times a year?
Right. And can I pick the places
Yes.
that I go?
Yeah, and for how long?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, that's not very many demands. It's fine. Okay, so you did that. So then you got your master's and you started it here in Fort Wayne.
I started Levitate here.
So did you choose here because?
I chose here for a couple of reasons. First and foremost, I'm from here, and I knew if I was going to start a company, I wanted to do it here. I had also, I finished my MBA, and I thought that I would take a year and maybe work for a consulting firm after that and then start my own agency. But about 3 days after I finished my last class, I got the greatest surprise of my life.
Oh.
And found out I was having a baby. So plans changed a little bit, and I decided maybe smarter to keep the job that I have. But it was very formative in the decisions that I would make in my career. So I was a single mom from the beginning. I knew when I was about 7 weeks pregnant that I was going to be raising my child on my own, and that was really, really hard for me to come to grips with, because I was career focused.
Yeah.
I was on the career fast track. That was what I wanted. I think when people found out I was pregnant, they automatically felt sorry for my child because I was like, black and white. I do work.
I'm going here.
Yes.
I have no time here.
I don't understand people that have priorities outside of work. So it was a big adjustment. And I work for a company that was really great and flexible with me at the time, but we were also up for sale. The owners decided that they were going to get out, and so the culture started to shift. We were later sold and bought out by a huge, large conglomerate agency, and that's a huge difference in culture.
Yes.
And at that time, I had moved from Boston to Grand Rapids to be closer to home, and I was working remotely, so I would travel back and forth to Boston. And so I wasn't quite ready to move back to Fort Wayne yet.
Yes.
Closer to water still, a little, getting close. But and at that time too, I started to feel more limitations as a single mom. And it was very clear to me that my career was ending here at the place that I was at. And that was really hard for me to swallow, because I was still the same person. I still had the same dreams and goals and wanted to contribute so much more, and yet knew that it didn't matter if I was given 75% or 110%, I was capped, there. So that frustrated me.
And I think that's something that a lot of women don't talk about.
Yeah.
Because society says, oh, you're having a family, this is exactly what you should want for your whole life, and this is what you should work for, and there, I would say it is hard. I can even think of my mom saying that she got pregnant. So my mom and dad got married. They were pregnant. I had my sister like a year later. And she was just like, I didn't go to get my art master's. I didn't go all the way through that. And I think for a long time, for probably till she was probably 28 or so, she was mourning that.
Right.
And then she said, you know what? So she tells me, because I should kind of live her life. And God love I love my mother, but why don't you want to stay home? Why don't you want to do these things? Like, I gave up my dreams. It's more fulfilling this way. And you're like, I don't know. There's a deeper yearning there. I don't know how to explain it. I want to be the next Oprah. So
Exactly. Yes.
And I will make this happen someday.
Yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely. It is. There's a lot of pressures on women, and there's just a lot of guilt that comes with whatever choice you make. I talk to women a lot. Some women that choose to freelance and work part-time, and they struggle with the guilt of not doing more from a career perspective. And then there's women that are, still very career focused, and we struggle with not being a full-time dedicated mom. So it's a tough dynamic, but I think it's important to just figure out what, for me, I love being a mom. I love my son, and I love my career, and I refuse to apologize for either of those. There are two things that are incredibly important to me that I have so much passion for, and it's a dance every day. Every day. I tell people all the time, the concept of balance is just a BS concept. It doesn't exist. It's like every day there's 10 balls dropping, and I just toss my hands out there. Yeah. And
I got one.
If randomly something lands, that's a huge win. Most days, like 9 out of the 10 balls drop on the floor, and you learn to let go of some of that. Yes. So that's the only way, I think, to really survive. But to constantly be chasing this unicorn concept of balance is just an exhausting, never-ending. But nonetheless, I buy all sorts of yoga mats and
I know,
stress relief
meditate.
Yes.
While my children are crawling on me.
Right, yes.
And you can't help but then turn and snuggle them.
Right, exactly.
Yes. Oh, life.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, so you started your business here.
Yes.
And what year was that?
That was through just over 3 years ago. So we just started year 4 right now. Kicked off year 4 in January. Yes.
Oh my gosh, I cannot believe this.
Yes. I know, it's gone by so fast.
We started about the same time.
Right.
That's right.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so when thinking about being in business for 4 years, what happened first? Like, what kicked you off? Because I know a lot of our followers are going to say, I've been in this for 4 years and I don't feel like I've gotten that momentum. How did you?
For me, one of the things that has really, I think, pushed me in the beginning and continues to push me is that there is no safety net. There is absolutely no safety net. I gave up a great job. I gave up. I worked for a big PR agency. There isn't anything like that here.
Yes.
So I can't leave this, decide it's not working, and go get a job at another PR agency. There just isn't anything like that. Also, being a single mom, there's no backup. There's no backup revenue. There's no backup healthcare. There's no. So, but when I moved to Fort Wayne, I moved in the spring, and I left my job in December, and then started Levitate in January. And I think you make two choices. Right? There's two options when you're going to start a company. You really, really, really scale back your lifestyle, and you say, okay, I'm gonna. I could have come and moved into, rented an apartment and had very little, financial commitment and all of that stuff. but I think you live to the expectation that you set for yourself. So I decided, no, I'm going to take on the lifestyle that I want to have, consistent with what I'd been living, and I'm going to force myself to perform at that level. And so when you've got, your mortgage and your car payment and all those things that have to be paid, you figure out a way to make that happen. And so that always really fueled me and motivated me to keep going. And people look at me all the time and they're like, you're crazy. You're absolutely crazy. Why would you leave your cushy job? Why would you take on, we moved just over a year ago we started with like 600 square feet of office space.
I remember that office.
Yes, it was cute. It was a great starting point. And then we have just under 3,000 square feet now. And taking that on was a huge endeavor. And again, people were like, you're crazy. You don't need this space. You don't. But I knew we would grow. I was committed to growing. And you just have to commit and make it happen. So, a lot of times people talk about the importance of a backup plan, but there's also a lot of value in not having a backup plan because it forces you to make the first plan work.
Yes.
So that's driven a lot of the growth of Levitate, and you have to just really be committed to hustling. I hustle every single day. I didn't get my first paying client until about 6 months in. And there were a lot of night sweats and panic moments, and you're watching your little savings just exactly. and then things just started hitting, and it was one thing after another, and then I was able to start doing some work with one of my clients at my former agency on a different project, and eventually went up for agency of record for them. Went up against various firms from big cities, and we were selected. And that was a huge, huge win for me.
That's fantastic.
Yes. And I love working with them. They're an incredible company to work with, and it's been such a foundational growth platform for Levitate. So I will be eternally grateful to them and all of the companies that in the beginning said, yes, we're going to work with you. Because it's a chance. They took a chance, and they put their faith and their trust in me and the business that I was building. And so I never take that for granted. I really appreciate, and love to still work with those companies and always want to outperform expectations because that's the level of trust that they put in me. So
one of our previous podcasts or vlogs, we were talking with Jay Johns, who is a tenant here, a client of ours, and he owns a business that does app development and software development and all this, so it's really cool. And he was saying, similar to what you were saying, right out of the get-go, you're basically creating this bond with a client that says, thank you for taking a chance on me, and I'm going to show you that I'm worthy of it.
Yes.
Now, he actually said that you should charge a little less when you first start working with someone. How do you feel about that?
I did not. It's an interesting debate. I did not scale our fees to what I would call mid-size city prices. I think your experience is your experience, and that doesn't matter where you're at. So I scaled to compete at a price point, slightly under a large agency that might be based in Chicago, Boston, or New York, but not a lot, because the level of work that we deliver is better than any agency out there in New York, Boston, or Chicago. Yeah. And so you're going to pay for that. There is value to what we do. And it's a fine line between taking your product and devaluing it with a low price and outpricing to where people don't, want to do work with you. So you have to be confident in what you offer, and you have to know the ground that you stand on. And that's not easy. It's not easy when you're going out there and you really need to bring on some clients. Yes. And inside you're feeling like, you're
Anybody?
so afraid.
Anybody?
Yes.
Mhm.
And you're going and meeting with clients, you're like, no, this is my price. This is what it costs. This is the value that we bring. And you've got to stick with it.
Yeah.
So it's a fine line. I'm an advocate for knowing what you're worth and always charging what you're worth, and relative to the value that you bring.
Mm-hmm.
And but I did not lower my prices just because we were new or because we were located here in Fort Wayne.
Mm-hmm.
And our clientele, we work with some companies in the region, but we work with companies all across the nation. So where we're at doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
I've had clients that still think I'm in Boston, and that's
They keep thinking that.
Yeah. We do a lot of work in healthcare, so we do often tell people that we're located just outside of Warsaw, because people know Warsaw,
Mm-hmm.
but they don't always know Fort Wayne.
Yeah. Oh, that's fantastic. When you're talking about your clients and ramping up,
Yeah.
how did you determine who your clientele would be? Was it based off of that first client that you signed 6 months later, or was it you had this roadmap and you said they're going to be, because it's really important
Right.
to determine who your target market is. So how did you create that?
Yeah. Our primary clients, the majority of our clients, I should say, are in healthcare. My background is primarily healthcare. So at some point early on in my career, I went from working in high-tech technology, nobody calls it high-tech anymore, shift to healthcare. And I love healthcare. I love everything about it. Because you get to work with companies that have such incredible innovative technology, medicine, and it's impacting people's lives every day.
When we say we're not saving lives, they're literally saving lives.
Well, I wish I was doing the life saving. Actually, I'm glad I'm not. But we're sharing stories about people that are saving lives and technology that's saving lives, and that is meaningful to me. And there are times where we'll reach out and talk to a patient, because we're going to work on a patient profile video or something like that, and it's hard to talk to these people and not tear up, and just because their lives have changed so dramatically. We talked to a patient who had a pacemaker put in, and she had struggled for decades, and they couldn't figure out what was wrong with her. And she said, she sat there and talked about how she felt like she wasn't a good mom, and she was, all these challenges that she was having, and then she got her pacemaker, and her whole life changed. It just changed. And hearing her tell the story and seeing her interact with her, her children are now in high school and college, but it's incredible. It's incredible. And that's when you know how important that the work that we do is, because if one person saw that and then talked to their doctor about that technology and their life was changed like that, that's meaningful enough for me. So we do a lot of work in healthcare. Everything is a big, long story.
Yes.
For me.
I love it, though. I love stories. Everybody loves stories.
But we also do work in business services. I knew we would take on only B2B clients. We weren't going to do any work in consumer except for from second tier kind of relationship. So patients, things like that. But we weren't going to get into handbags or something like that. That's just outside of my realm of expertise. So
she says it's because I worked at Bear Brothers.
Yes. So I was fortunate along the way to interact with a lot of incredible people in the Fort Wayne business community. And everyone pushed me in different appropriate ways to stop, take a step back, and think about what I was doing. And one of the people that I worked with, he said, have you really defined your customer base? And I was like, I know I know what I'm doing here.
Yeah.
Where do you fall in the competitive landscape? I'm like, come on, I don't have any competitors. Like every egotistical. Yeah. So that was a really great process to sit down and think about all of that, write it out, and really hone in on who is our target customer. You know, it had to be in the B2B space. It had to be companies that are targeting on a regional, if not national scale, because the work that we do and the cost that's involved with it. Usually if you just have a very localized audience, we're probably not the best agency for you, just because your spend is going to be smaller, because your audience reach is smaller. So we tend to work on a regional, national scale. And then a lot of it came down to budget. So we want to work with clients that are willing to spend X amount on a marketing communications program. And, you know, there's some flexibility in that, and there's still a big range, but the work that we do is strategic. It's smart and innovative and creative, and that takes time and effort.
Yes.
So we don't work with clients that come to us and tell us what to do. We don't work like that. We work with clients that come and say, here's the goal that we want to achieve. You're the expert. Tell us how to get there. Mm-hmm. And lots of times people think, you know, we want to do this. We want to be on Facebook. And it doesn't always make sense because that's not where your audience is.
Right.
So we always say, you know, we say no a lot more than we say yes. Mm-hmm. And that's, you know, we find companies that want to achieve more. We don't work with companies that are just happy with status quo, because that's not the type of work that we do. We are aggressive, and we want to help people achieve greater success than they ever knew possible. So the tone of the agency and our corporate brand it's aggressive, assertive. I'm trying to stop using the word aggressive and use assertive. But we then get clients that take that same approach. And if you're a low-key, you know, kind of status quo company, that's okay. There's a place for that.
And there are many people that can serve you.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. It just most likely isn't us.
Yeah. See, and so that, again, goes back to that assertiveness. When you're writing out who you want to serve, you get to make that decision, and you get to stick with it. So I know oftentimes as a small business owner, it's hard to make yourself charge for what you're worth, but also while you're on there. So I would know when I was in the closet, sometimes I would just get so close with the client,
right.
And I would hear all about their lives, and they're literally standing there naked, you
right.
know, or in their bra and underwear,
Yeah.
and I'm in their closet, and I was like, oh, I just went over an hour, and it was hard for me to say, yes, you owe me more.
Right.
And I will never forget one day I went to a friend, and she was asking me questions about my business, so but for her. So what should I do about this? I have problems with this, and I was telling her, and she wrote me a check for $150, and she said, "Thank you so much." And what? Thank you, but why are you doing it? You don't need to do that. She said, "Yes, I do. I'm asking you because you're the expert."
Right.
Oh yeah, I am. You're right. I mean, I do know what I'm doing. And when you come from a different setting, so when you come from corporate, it's easy. I was there. I could say, I deserve this raise. I should be making this much. It was really easy for me to know my worth. But as a business owner, it got a little tricky.
Yeah. Well, it's personal. It's personal then. And so if someone says no, or you get that tough spot, it's personal.
Yes.
And when you're working for a company,
it's like,
yeah, whatever, and
Same.
it's not my money, and, you know,
it's all
like,
monopoly
whatever,
money.
Yeah. So it's hard. It's just really hard. And just because I sit here and talk about it doesn't mean it's not hard. It is a struggle. It is still hard. There are times, I have to call up clients all the time and talk about the financial issues, or we're going over, or we're going to run out of budget, or this was not included in the scope. And I hate those conversations. I do. I hate them. I don't like those at all. But I have them.
Yes.
And you have to do it. You just have to do it.
And I think that's a really good point. You have them.
Yeah.
She has those conversations. You have to make yourself, and that just goes back to your assertive personality and your drive.
Yes.
Because if you are willing to be a consultant or a contractor that isn't willing to make those decisions, that's fine. That's you. Just know that you will never experience growth.
There's limits.
And success.
There's limits. Yeah.
Like Stacey has so quickly. So how many people do you have on your staff now?
We have 5. Yeah.
That's so fun. So who's on there and what do they do? You don't have to give names if you don't want to, but
no.
What kind of position?
It's good. It's been such an interesting growth process and learning curve for me, but we are creating more kind of specialized roles. So I have myself. I have recently brought on a director of strategy and creative, which has been phenomenal because we needed some higher level leadership capability, someone that could take on some of the operations efforts and stuff. So that's been fantastic. And then we have a senior PR strategist and then an account coordinator that kind of helps across the board, focused primarily on more traditional PR, strategic planning, strategic messaging, and all of that. And then we also have in-house digital. So we have an incredible woman on our team that does all of our video work in-house, and that the rest of it, is what I do as well.
Yeah.
That was the path that I took.
And there's me doing everything. Yeah.
But the digital is always, I'm in awe because I don't know any of that. We go out and I'm like, I don't even know how to focus the lens on it, much less take it back and edit and make video work is magic.
Yes.
It's magic. What happens is just magic. So people get back the video and see it, they're like, wow, I did such a good job saying that. That's like one word from here, one word from here, one word from here.
Was there a time, you had said that you moved into a new space and you were like, I'm ready.
Yeah.
I'm going to make sure that I have the funds to do this.
Yeah.
Was it like that when you were hiring? Or was it like, I have this demand and I know that it's better if I just hire this in-house rather than contracting it out?
Hiring is a scary process. It really is. It's this catch-22 of, do you bring on the business, overwhelm whoever's doing the work, burn them out, then expand the team, or expand the team, panic because you need to bring on more business, and now you've built this team. So it's been a little bit of both. In the beginning, it was more work with a really small team. We got really overwhelmed, and everyone was the small team was working really hard, and then decided to bring on more people and expand the team. We've had more growth in the past 3 months, so we added 2 people in the past 3 months, and that was basically with the intention of continuing to grow. So I do strategic planning for the company every year, look ahead, so we have annual goals. We have revenue goals for the year. We have a 5-year. By year 5, the end of year 5, I'd like to be at 10 people. By the end of year 10, I'd like to have 25 people and be working on a second location. So knowing that you want to get there, it's easier to say, we're going to bring on more people because we've created this scalability, right? And now we have the office space, we have all of this, and everything's ready. So now we have a stronger foundation to bring on the more clients that it will take to then go to the next level of growth. Mm-hmm. So it's a back and forth, but this team will get maxed out before we add on more.
Love you guys. Get ready. But I promise it'll be okay.
Keep working hard. But they're a phenomenal team. I feel fortunate to have the team that I do, and I truly, truly know that they also took a chance on me. And so I don't take that for granted. I work really hard to make sure we do retain and grow the business, and that I make decisions in a really smart fiscal capacity, because these are, the majority of my team are, they're in their 20s, they're early in their careers, they're looking at buying, their first car or their first house, and it is like the coolest feeling in the world to know that what we're doing is contributing to that.
Yes.
And I want to, I want to see them get raises and continue on their career path and have these fulfilling lives in so many capacities. So I know that they took a chance on me, and I'm sure that all of their parents were like, don't do it, you know, don't go with the startup, go with the,
Yeah.
But they came, and they're here, and they all work really hard, so, you know, I focus in on that too, when I'm looking at the growth opportunities and how to plan and all the financial decisions.
Oh, that's so good. So you guys make your goals.
Yes, it's so important.
I am the dork who has the vision board up
Oh,
in my
yes,
bedroom.
absolutely. That's great. It's so important, though,
It
to
is.
know where you're headed. And I mean, I think it's important to know that you need to have a goal, but you also sometimes have to realize that, like, this is my goal. My path to where I'm at right now and where I'll get is not like this.
Yes.
It's like, you know, it's all over the place. But if you stay committed to the goal, you will get there. The path is just going to change.
Yes. And you don't have to you don't have to take so much emotion on this ride if you
Right.
can remember that.
Right.
Everything is going to change. It can change by week
Yes,
sometimes.
all the
Sometimes
time.
during the
All
middle of the
time.
day.
Yes, yes.
But having that vision and those goals, I can't imagine, but I've always been that kind of person who has
Right.
goals, and they'll be, even if it's silly, like I remember being 25 and saying, by the time I'm 30, I'm going to get to all 50 states. Well, I had some babies in there. But I have 3 states left.
Wow, that's impressive.
Yeah, it was about 10 years later. But with babies
Yeah.
and starting a business, I
Yeah.
still feel pretty good.
Uh-huh.
So there are those kind of goals, and you're the master of them. I'm not going to be depressed because I haven't made my 50 states by the time I was 30. I'm going to say, I made it by the time I was 40.
That's
Eat
right.
that, Leslie
That's
Hill
right.
from 25 years.
Absolutely. You just keep working towards it. Yeah.
We're big here on mentors.
Yes, yes.
How many mentors have you had? How did they create? Do you have any?
Yeah,
How does that
yeah.
look for you?
Well, like I said, I feel very fortunate to have been embraced by the local business community here. I think there are inherent challenges sometimes in the business community. As a person, I've always felt very welcomed and embraced by everyone that I've come across, which presented some great opportunities for mentors. I met Don Cates from Three Rivers Federal Credit Union. Like, I was still working for my last company, and I was out networking, and I met him, and I was talking to him, and I didn't know who he was at the time. And I was just talking,
okay.
yeah. I'm like, oh, you work for Three Rivers, great.
Yeah.
And then later, he told me, you know, his role there. I was momentarily mortified.
You're like, oh.
Yeah.
Can I take our whole conversation?
But he has been an incredible mentor for me. After my first, when I first met him, he allowed me to come in and sit down and talk with him. And he is just one of the greatest, kindest, most down-to-earth people I have ever met. There are no airs about him. You know, he'll give you feedback. He's like low-key. And so he's been great to go in and talk to. And one of the things that he did that I was not prepared for, but at the end of my first meeting with him in his office, he looked at me and he said, "What can I do for you?" And I was like, I'll get back to you on that. Like, I hadn't had anyone before ever say, "How can I help you? What can I do?" And I was so incredibly unprepared for that.
Yeah.
Thankfully, he gave me many more opportunities to answer that question. But I think that was a big learning curve, and even though that wasn't an intentional learning point for him, it was something that I then knew going into every meeting. I need to be prepared. What do I actually want out of this, and how can someone help me? So that was a big learning opportunity for me. And he continued. You know, he's will on occasions just send me a note, "Hey, just checking in. How you doing? How are things going?" Or so it's really wonderful. He has interviewed candidates for me and provided perspective, and he's just a really grounded and obviously very accomplished business professional that I think people really look up to, and you see the team that he has built.
Yes.
And that's really important. So seeing someone that can be in a leadership and success capacity and still have that culture and never lose the groundedness that comes with that. So he's been an incredible mentor for me. Jim Willcox has been another mentor of mine. He is wonderful. I actually had a mentor. My pre-Jim mentor was Chad Towner, who at the time was the CEO of DuPont Hospital. And Chad pushed me and forced me to think about lots of things I hadn't been thinking about. And he's an assertive, aggressive, person too, which is great.
Yeah.
And so he did a lot of that.
She's
and
like,
then
I got you.
yeah. And then he introduced me to Jim. And I always joke that I was probably being too needy because I'm like, oh, yes.
Oh, good, thank you.
Yes, tell me more, help me out.
Yes.
And so he introduced me to Jim, and Jim has been phenomenal. I did participate in his Sandler program, which incredible. And
I went through that too, and hands down, it's amazing.
It's amazing,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. Because he's great at, he's a very real person. He's personable, he's just very real. But he understands it all, and he's a entrepreneur.
Mm-hmm.
And when he can sit down and talk to you about how important it is to assign value to yourself, to get rid of the head trash, to go out and meet with prospects like you have $1 million in your pocket, all these different things. And so he's just been wonderful. He's still a very close mentor of mine. We meet on a consistent basis, and he's someone that I go to still and can say, like, this is really hard.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the hardest parts about being an entrepreneur and running a company is that my role is a leadership position, and it's, yes, there's a transparency and a vulnerability to it, but I have to go in every day and be confident, even when I'm scared to death.
Yes.
And so to have someone like Jim that you can go to and say, I'm like a little scared about what's going on right now, help me out, and he'll sit and listen and guide and give me a little kick in the butt when I need a little kick in the butt. And so he's great. So I've been fortunate to have some really wonderful mentors that continue to maintain relationships with me, and I really appreciate. It's a lot to give back to someone like that.
It is.
It's a lot, and everybody's busy and everybody's got a lot going on. So when people do take the time and invest in kind of the next generation of entrepreneurs, it's really wonderful, and it's something that I really, really appreciate.
Have you mentored before?
That's a great question.
Well, beside the people on your team, because
right.
honestly, there's a lot that goes into that.
I have not in a formal capacity. I meet with a lot of people. It's fun. We have a lot of people that come through our office that are, either in college or newly graduated or things like that. But I haven't worked with anyone on more of a kind of
more
one-on-one.
long-term.
Yeah.
And that is completely fine. You may have like 3 hours in 3 weeks to give to someone, so it completely makes sense.
At some, that kind of all plays into there's a lot that goes into growing the business and all of that. And I think you have to in order to mentor someone, you got to feel really, really confident that I know what I've done has worked for me. I don't know yet if it would work for
anyone else.
Yes.
Yes.
So we'll get a little farther.
Yes. And really, it could be someone that isn't even in your industry.
Yes,
it could be
that's very true.
Of any age.
True. Yeah.
But thinking about everyone on your team, you are a mentor to them. Whether they think of it as a mentor or not, you are teaching them how to go on for the rest of their career.
Yeah.
And who they want to be and who they don't want to be. All of those kind of pieces.
Yes.
So you technically have, 5?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's a lot.
Right. Yeah. Well, thank you. It is a lot. There's a lot. There are days where one day my son was sick, And the second day of being sick, he's in the office. I moved a couch into my office, and he is running around. I'm like,
how about you're sick?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Next time,
Yeah.
school. I was like, pretty sure I'm inspiring everyone to wait a couple more years right now on having kids.
That's hilarious.
But it's a good, it's a lot of fun.
And then it makes you more real to them as well.
Yeah, it's interesting because actually that day was crazy, and I was trying to get a million things done, and by the end of it, my exhausted son was like kooky crazy.
Yeah.
And so I went and apologized to someone on my team, like, I'm really sorry about that. And they're like, it's nice to see the real
This side
side,
of you.
And I think we get so caught up in just doing what we do, and you forget what that perception is to everyone else. And I don't walk into any environment and feel like I got it all together,
Yes.
right? I'm like, is there peanut butter?
Yeah.
Did I iron this? Like,
Yes, I do know.
Are my earrings matching?
Yes. Do I have the
So-
same shoes on?
Right, yes. That's how I feel when I walk in. And you got to get it together, but I don't walk in and think like, oh yeah,
Yeah.
right? I got this down.
What do you have on
Yeah,
me?
right. Doing this is easy,
Yeah. Yes.
So it's a, perception.
Okay, so thinking about the journey from the 5 years and how you help your clients, what would you say definitely don't leave up to chance?
Yeah. In growing a business or
Both, growing a business
Yeah.
and then from,
a communications?
yes.
Yes. Well, from a communications perspective, we see a lot of companies and organizations that I don't think they make a conscious choice to leave it up to chance. But if you're not doing it, then it is luck and chance. And when you're talking about your brand reputation, the story that's coming out, you always want to be in control of that. And that's important as a small business, as a big company, even as an individual. I don't want people telling my story for me. I want to tell my story. I want to tell you how I got to be where I am and tell you what the hard parts were and how that shaped me moving forward. That's the same thing for a company, a small business. You need to tell your story. And when you're in control of that, then you shape it, right?
Mm-hmm.
You emphasize different points and tell how maybe this wasn't perfect. We're all going to encounter things personally, professionally, as companies that aren't perfect. And there's value in that. But when you tell that story, you can tell it in the capacity that matters to you rather than letting someone else take that and run with it. So it's, I think a pretty widely recognized example in our community would be looking at what's happened with Lutheran and seeing how the challenge that has happened with Lutheran Health Network and CHS, the parent company, and the lack of communication that was going out to the community. So there were a lot of changes happening, there was a lot of negativity, and the negativity was coming from everyone outside of the organization, right? Everyone's talking about it. And it took a long time for Lutheran to engage and start telling their story in any capacity. And by the time that happened, the story had already run, right? Mm-hmm. And everybody was, and it was a story, I mean, at the time, last summer when a lot of the craziness was going down, my grandmother was actually in the hospital there. And I didn't have any concerns about the type of care that she was getting. I never walked into the hospital and felt like there weren't nurses or people were angry.
Doctor? It's like Lowe's.
Right, yeah.
Who's gonna help me here?
Right.
Yeah.
But nobody was telling that story. Nobody was telling the story about the patient care that was still going on because the hospital, the health network, let everybody else decide for them. So that's a bigger, but more localized example, I think, of what happens when we don't get in front of the story and tell it ourselves. So it's scary. It's scary to take the lead and do it. But when you do, you stay in control of what you're doing. You open yourself up, and you have to be ready to kind of defend that and talk more about it. But anytime you hide and don't get out there, everybody else is going to tell your story for you. And that's just, it's never, there's no advantage to that.
Ever.
No. So you'll find when you take the lead, everything else sort of follows behind, right? So if you go out there and say, this is the positive, this is what's happening, here's our focus on patient care, all of this, then other people start telling that story too. But when someone comes out and says, nobody's paying attention to this, numbers are down, technology is that, and then suddenly there's a million people, yeah, and there's people to tell that story too. And so you have to really stay in control of it and guide it. We do a fair amount of work in crisis communication, and there's two sides. You know, you'll meet with one company that's like, we want to say nothing,
Yes.
nothing. And I mean, there are times in legal matters and things
Yeah,
where you
that's
really
true.
don't want to say anything. But and then there are some people that want to get really super aggressive, you know, and really go to town. And so you have to find that middle ground of telling your story in a controlled manner, in an appropriate, focusing on, you know, the positive points and getting that additional support from third-party validation. So, but never leave it up to chance.
Good call.
Yes.
So then as a business owner or someone
Yeah.
starting a business, what should we all not leave up to luck?
Yeah. I mean, I don't think luck has a place at all in starting a business or growing a business. And I, you know, for me, when someone ever says the word lucky, that's like frustrating to me, you know, because this isn't luck.
Yeah, you worked hard on this.
Exactly. I didn't just like wake up one day and people were like, here's everything for you, right? You got to get out there and do it. So, but I'm a planner. I need a plan. I need structure. I need to know. So luck is not,
Yes.
you know, I think it's really important to know where you want to go, what you want to achieve, to lay out all of those goals, and not just goals, but the execution. You know, how are we going to get there? Because if you just look ahead and say, you know, in 10 years I want to be a 25-person company with 2 locations and in-office childcare, right? Mm-hmm. That's great. Those are my goals. Yeah. But if I don't look at then, okay, how do I achieve this step every single year, then we'll get to year 10 and I'll still have my, you know, 5-person team in our one office. So you really have to focus on executing every single day to meet those midline goals that will help get you to the end goal.
So you guys can do it. You need to write your goals. And there's no luck involved.
That's right. No luck. Luck is not a strategy.
That's right. Well, thank you so very much for coming and speaking with us. I know that time is so valuable, so I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
And I could say that for probably all of us. This has been very inspiring, and there's been a lot to learn from.
Thank you. Well, I appreciate being in here and appreciate everything that you're doing. I think it's really important to get the message out and to support all the incredible entrepreneurs and small businesses in this community. It is the future. It is what our community needs to grow and evolve and to reach all of the goals that we have. So anything that anyone can do to invest in and support entrepreneurs and small businesses, that is the foundation of how we're going to continue to grow as a community. So.
Thank you. Do you want to let anybody know how to contact?
Oh yeah, absolutely. You can check out, we have a website, levitatenow.com, and you can also feel free anytime to email me at Stacey, STACEY, at levitatenow.com.
Thank you so much.